episode 266.
When the right person comes in, and nowadays it's more right than wrong, it's magic. They come in the door, they're looking for exactly what we have to offer. They want our loaner car fleet. They want our master technicians that have 20 years of experience. They want the best. And we have that. And that's when the magic happens, and you know, we can help them.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Hey, do you have an avatar of your ideal customer? This and a lot more in this interview with Patrick McHugh as he shares his great entrepreneurial story on the Aftermarket's premier podcast, Remarkable Results Radio. Carm Capriato here. I'm glad to have you by to listen to the power of these one-on-one interviews that I know will exercise your brain muscle. Hey, thanks to Federal Mogul Motor Parts for their support. They are the reason you enjoy these great aftermarket interviews. Now, when you need innovation and quality, you need Federal Mogul Motor Parts. Brands like Moog, Felpro, Wagner Brake, Anco, Champion, Seal Power, FP Diesel, and more. They're the parts techs trust. Find out more at fmmotorparts.com. And thanks for your support of these brands. You know, ever thought about the convenience, fun, and power of the podcast? Well, every interview brings a personal and intimate look from an industry colleague's perspective. As the voice inspires and the story engages, you've come to learn that this great audio medium is a powerhouse of wisdom that you can use to further your career and your influence. Thanks for investing. For optimum listening connection, please be sure you've downloaded the podcast listening app. Go to remarkableresults.biz/app. That's APP. Hey, I love to connect with you. Welcome new Facebook friends Bob Dobbs, Doug Olson, David Chiffins, and Rick Wilson. And new LinkedIn connections Ryan Auckman, Shane Mobley, and Tyler Boylson. Find all my social links at remarkableresults.biz/social. Hey, now meet Patrick McHugh here in episode 266. He owns Bimmer Rescue. Find the show's talking points at remarkableresults.biz/E266. Many service professional shop owners started as a technician. Well, not so with Patrick McHugh. Patrick calls himself a tinkerer. He says he tinkered with stuff all the time, and he learned all about cars with a 1985 BMW his dad bought him. He was also fascinated with flying. Find out when he soloed and when he got his pilot's license. Yes, this shop owner was flying 50-seat regional jets and took Richmond, Virginia as his base. It was his early days of tinkering with the Beamer that inspired him out of aviation and into automotive repair, and he tells you the story. On top of his startup story, you've got to hear about the power he puts into marketing to the right customer, his art shows, and the student seminars he does in the shop as he teaches STEM, automotive science, technology, engineering, and math to young students. Hey, a ton of takeaways for you, already written. See the show notes page. Now the kid who loves to take toasters apart and who loved to fly now shares his business strategies. Patrick McHugh from Bimmer Rescue, Richmond, Virginia. A warm welcome to Patrick McHugh from Bimmer Rescue in Richmond, Virginia. Hey, Patrick.
How's it going, Carm? Thanks for having me.
Great. Welcome to the show. So how does it happen? You went from an airline pilot to owning a shop that repairs BMWs. It's got to be an interesting story.
I grew up in Wheaton, Illinois, a west suburb of Chicago. And I was always the kid in the neighborhood that neighbors would bring toaster ovens and blenders and broken hair dryers to, because I would take them apart in the basement and try and fix them and, you know, do science experiments on them. And I was always blowing the circuit breakers in the house.
Wait a minute. Science experiments?
Oh, yeah. I was always trying to build a robot in the basement all the time. As I grew up, I graduated to lawnmowers and mini bikes and tractors and stuff like that. And when I hit about 14, my dad saw that stuff wasn't quite keeping me satisfied anymore. So he bought an old BMW. At the time, it was 85, so it was old then, and we fixed it up together. My dad had limited mechanical knowledge. He's a man of business, not necessarily a man of mechanics, but he learned with me on the car. It was a very cool bonding experience when I was young. We learned how to do oil changes, stuff like that. And, we ran out of skill. So he had a good friend named Eric who had a lift in his garage and had the manuals and the tools and everything we needed to fix this BMW. He was a total, shade tree mechanic extraordinaire. So we brought the car to him and we spent weekends with him, taking it to the next level, really learning how to fix the car, doing the cooling system and the belts and the hoses and transmission fluids and things like that. Had a lot of fun, kept me busy when I was young. And I owe a lot of where I'm at today to both my dad and Eric for, lighting that fire with car.
It kept you off the streets.
I'm sure it kept me out of some kind of other trouble that I could have got in. So when I was 15, 16, I wanted more. So I went to the airport and I worked washing planes, painting the airport, lobby and mowing grass to earn credit for flying lessons. So I took flying lessons a little at the airport and soloed when I was 16, learned how to fly a plane by myself. The day before I was leaving for college, I got my pilot's license in a Cessna 172 and went to Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, where I studied aeronautical technology, which is learning how to repair airplanes, jets, helicopters, things like that. And I was probably headed for a career in heavy maintenance, working for United or Delta or Southwest or one of the big airlines, maintaining aircraft, maintaining fleets. But I kept flying in school. I earned my instrument license and I earned my instructor certificates so I could actually be a teacher teaching flying lessons.
You love to teach?
I love it. My favorite things I do day to day is teaching. Nothing is better to me than taking somebody who the only machine they've ever operated is a car and watching them land a plane by themselves for the first time and knowing that you taught them how to do that. It's just very rewarding for me to watch people learn and to guide people and to help people learn. It's a lot of fun. So I taught through school, and it's funny. I became an instructor and actually started teaching students that were my same age in school. It was so fun. It was great. I had a lot of good memories. Senior year, there was a job fair in the hangar at the airport, and there were all kinds of industries there. I walked up to an airline called Trans-States Airlines, and this is a subcontractor for United. So you know how you get on a jet and it says United Airlines operated by Trans-States. It was one of those.
A regional kind of airline.
Yeah. So they fly Embraer 145s. It's a 50-seat jet.
So wait a minute. You had probably never flown a jet before.
The biggest thing I'd flown was a 6-seat twin-engine plane. The next plane I flew after that was a 50-seat jet going 500 miles an hour with 50 people on it. So it was crazy.
How did you qualify for that? Did they have to put you through stuff?
Well, I didn't think I even would. They put me through an interview, and I was going up against all these other flight students that had been training to fly their whole college. And I didn't think I was going to cut it, but they gave me the job. They liked that I had some mechanical skill, and they gave me the job.
But they had to put you through some kind of simulation.
We had like full motion simulators they put me in, made sure I could really cut it, and somehow I did. So I went to training, and they made me decide fairly quickly where my crew base was going to be. So where I was going to live where I worked from. There was 2 options with this airline: St. Louis, Missouri, and Richmond, Virginia. And at that point in my life, I wanted nothing more to get out of the Midwest. I wanted to go somewhere else, explore. So I chose Richmond, Virginia, and I had no idea where it was. I had no idea what it was. I had to go to my car and get an atlas out so I could pick out where I was going to be moving. Now,
do you regret moving to Virginia, Richmond?
Absolutely not. I love it here. This town gave me, I think, more opportunity than I would have had in Chicago, in a big city. Richmond's a regional city. This town helped me grow to where I am today. And I owe a lot to the people of Richmond, as customers and friends and family.
I'm talking with Jonathan Cicchelli, a technical product specialist with Federal Mogul Motor Parts. Now, you're visiting shops every day. So when you put product in the hands of the technicians and service advisors, what are they saying?
Going back to Federmogel's long-term presence in the industry, they already know the product. And some of them we don't have to say much about. It's the newer product, the latest innovations that we come out with that just blow people away.
So, Jonathan, you take that brand new OEX pad and you put it into the hands of a technician. What happens?
They look at it and are kind of speechless for a couple seconds, and they just can't deny that it's an awesome-looking product, and they can't deny that it's going to work fantastic on their vehicles.
Now, another phenomenal product line that is just one of the most iconic brands in the entire industry is Moog. Now, there's a lot going on with Moog.
The newest thing with Moog is going to be, I think, the most important thing to the shops is a newer design ball joint that we created, and that was off of technicians' responses to a boot design.
That's that compression-loaded ball joint with the pre-installed integral dust boot?
Absolutely. And as soon as I pull that out of a box and show a technician or a shop owner, they just were like, this is amazing.
So, Jonathan, would you say that you're a champion for Federal-Mogul Motor Parts and all the premium products?
Absolutely.
And a champion for all the training?
I'm very big on training. I've always been in training since I've been in the professional field, so just to come back and support on the other end has just been an awesome experience.
Federal-Mogul Motor Parts' Garage Gurus is your go-to source for the vehicle training, technology, and answers you need to keep your next job on track. On-site, online, or on demand, the Gurus are here to help keep your business and your career on the road to success. Visit fmgarageguru.com. So I'm sure as a pilot based out of Richmond, you can, and I don't know the rules of it, you fly so much and then you have to have downtime. So I'm guessing that in your downtime, you still tinkered with BMWs.
Absolutely. There was a lot of downtime as a pilot. I would do this thing called airport reserve. So I would have to sit at the airport in case somebody else got sick. It's like the new guy has to do it in the airlines. So if another pilot gets sick, they would throw me in there. And near the airport, there's this industrial area. And I had a friend who had a car dealership in there. And while I was supposed to be sitting at the airport, I would go tinker with cars at his little dealership. You know, I was always messing with cars in my downtime, always. At BMW specifically.
How did the impetus of starting this business happen?
I quit the airlines after a year. It just wasn't for me. It was a lot of fun, but the career, it wasn't for me. You spend a lot of time away from home, and I value my home time above all. So I quit and I went to work on planes and doing avionics work and maintaining small planes at the local airport. And the whole time while doing that, I was doing shade tree mechanic work in my garage at home. I had a jack, I had jack stands, and I was fixing friends' cars. And
the jack and 4 jack stands get you in business, right?
That got me in business. And ironically, that jack wore out. I wore that thing out. The first day of business, that jack just kind of sunk to the floor and said, I'm done. Yeah, it was great. I was in my garage laying on my back. At some point, the county was not happy about how many cars were starting to build up in my garage or my driveway.
You were that busy.
I was getting busy. People were liking it, and they were sending me nastygrams in the mail that I needed to clean up my yard. So my wife said to me, "You need to either A, stop this and go back to work, or B, you need to start a business." And I chose the latter. And I'm sitting here today, and I don't regret it. One day of it, I love it. It's great. I made a good choice.
Great story. As a pilot, as a aeronautical technician, to a BMW mechanic who started his business, where were you qualified to really run a business?
Not at all. I am the least qualified person that's employed at my business today. I started off just totally winging it, just everything, seat of the pants. The only thing I had was my excitement and my passion for it. I didn't have any other skills. I didn't have any business training. I had no idea what I was doing. Was there a point in time at all, Patrick, that you realized I've got to get some training? I've got to get immersed into how to run a business? Absolutely. The World Pack Training Institute Expo 2014 down in Florida, sitting in Cecil's class. Cecil Bullard is a business coach. I remember the moment that my mind exploded. We were sitting in this room of all these different shop owners, and I had just started. I was feeling pretty small at the time. He asked the room, "What is your labor rate at your shop?" And all these hands went up around the room, and one guy said, 89. I think I was $91 an hour or something, and I thought that was high. And then there was this group of people who were his smart group guys, people who had been coached by him already, raising their hands saying their labor rates were 135, 140, 145. And my mind exploded. How could you charge that much money? How, nobody's ever going to come in. And throughout the class, he explained, selling value over price and knowing that your shop is amazing and making sure that your shop is the best in town and justifying the price, building value. And my mind just exploded continually. And that was the moment where I realized, that I need to make some changes.
Were those guys that had the higher labor rate, were they in some pretty big metropolitan areas?
Yes and no. Some of them were in big metropolitan areas where you expect a higher rate, but some of them were in towns like mine.
Were they specialists like you?
Yeah, those were the specialists. Those were the shops that were like me, the European shops. But some of them also worked on Japanese and all cars as well.
So what did you do when you came home? Did you say, "Hey, I got to raise my rate"?
I went and logged in remotely from my hotel room, and I went into the shop management system and I raised it to 128 from 91, and nobody said a thing. No customer cared. They liked me anyways, and it didn't matter. It was just great.
From the marketing side, where have you gotten your experience, and how have you been able to grow your customer base?
We started off with no marketing. I didn't see the value in it. I didn't do any marketing other than word of mouth, and it worked in the beginning when we didn't need a lot of cars and we didn't have a lot of overhead, and it worked. It was all we needed. As I started to hire, dealer master techs and real true professionals to work in my business and grow my business even further, I discovered a big need for it, and that's how I got hooked up with McHugh, and they've been great. They're like an all-in-one marketing platform, and they've helped me. Per my advice from Cecil, though, I've developed what's called my cardboard cutout customer.
More commonly called an avatar.
Absolutely. This whole concept has changed our business more than anything. When we started out, all I knew was old cars. I knew 1980s, 1990s cars. It's all I could cut it on because I'm not a professional mechanic. So that's what we worked on. That's what we had in our shop. We had old, worn out cars that were on their last legs, and they found this kid who just started a business. So that's what they were bringing in. As I started hiring better people, more highly trained people into my shop, I could tell there was tension with that. Nobody likes working on, an old turd that's just falling apart as you're working on it. Yes, there's some big tickets to be had, but it's just not what they wanted, what they thought was profitable. And slowly, my team changed my mind. They sat me down and had a few meetings with me and said, "Listen, these cars, we want different cars in our shop. We want newer cars. We want the cars that we're trained on and that we're good at in our shop." And so I listened to them, and I called up McHugh and said, "We want newer cars, and we want better cars, and we want more of them." And I laid out our cardboard cutout. In our shop, it is a customer that lives in a certain area of our town. We've got 10 highlighted areas that we target in our town. They have a nice house. They have a good job. They shop at premium stores. They go to Whole Foods rather than the cheaper grocery stores. We're targeting them in those areas, and they own a car that's 3 years old up to about 12 years old or so. That's kind of our cookie cutter cardboard avatar.
But you also have income levels. I mean, you really get it even more defined.
I can break it down even more. We're looking for people that have a household income between both parties well over $150 a year. Their home value is a big one we've started to target. Have a house that's over 500,000. We're focusing on a lot of different, parameters.
And the marketing efforts, as you say, from Kukui is helping you steer that?
Yeah. So Kukui, when we started that, when we really learned that concept, our business made a huge pivot. We suddenly started going in a better direction. Kukui turned us from the old car that's on its last legs shop into the shop that you take your luxury car right when it's out of warranty. That they've changed our identity. They've helped me change my identity into the latter, and I'm happier there. That's where we're better. One
of the great things about having an avatar for a business, and hopefully people that are shop owners that don't have it are going to listen to this. We've talked about this before on the show, and I've heard the same story. Once you have your avatar, and when that person walks in, right, Patrick?
Yep.
You absolutely know if they are going to be a customer, and if not, and
yep.
if they meet that avatar, you'll do everything you possibly can to be sure they become a relationship long-term customer.
Absolutely, and it's so great. You can tell when the wrong customer comes in, and we can tell almost right away that they bring in this old car and it's falling apart. It needs $6,000 just to be safe. We're not going to be able to work with that car, the way that our model is set up.
Mm-hmm.
When the right person comes in, and nowadays it's more right than wrong, it's magic. They come in the door, they're looking for exactly what we have to offer. They want our loaner car fleet. They want our master technicians that have 20 years of experience. They want the best. And we have that. And that's when the magic happens, and we can help them.
So you have what they want, and what is that differentiation? What's the environment, the excitement, the culture about?
What makes our shop amazing? What makes our shop the best in town? I think number one is the people in it. I've got a services advisor, Mike Lane, who's just amazing. He has the ability to make people feel like they're dropping their car off at a friend's house rather than at a big conglomerate business with cogs and wheels and a machine. I got an interesting story that I'll tell you about my own experience. It kind of shows us. So
okay.
I have a BMW and it had a recall on the airbag, the Takata recall. Everyone knows it. It's a big disaster. I got a thing in the mail. I called the number to schedule service to get this airbag changed out. I own a shop. I've never taken my car anywhere else to be fixed before. So I don't really know what it's like out there in the rest of the world. So I got the thing in the mail. I called the number and I got it rang and rang and rang. And the receptionist picked up and I was like, hey, I need to schedule a thing. And so she transferred me back to service and it rang and rang and rang. It went to a voicemail and I left a voicemail. And then I struggled to get a human being. I got a person finally. I scheduled my appointment. I drove my car to the dealership. I went in the parking lot and they were doing construction. So there was cars everywhere and there was a little thing with signs pointing every direction. And it was like in Looney Tunes when they come to a crossroads and there's 50 signs pointing every direction. And I found the one that said service and I went right and I went down the way and I pulled in and I didn't understand how a service drive worked because I never experienced that before. So I pulled up to what I thought was the right door, but it wasn't. I was blocking the door and some guy came out and yelled at me. It was like, move your car, you're blocking my bay. And I was like, well, where do I go? And he was like, I don't know. Finally found the service drive and I pull in and it's like a ghost town. There's tumbleweeds blowing across the ground and no one's around. And I found a porter. I didn't know what a porter was, but I found one and he didn't know what to do either. But he got me to the service advisor and nice guy. He entered my information in, but then his computer blipped and he had to enter it all again. I had to tell him my address 4 times, and the poor guy was just trying to do his job, but his systems were letting him down. And
do you know what's amazing? You're telling this verbatim, every detail in your mind, because you had such a terrible experience. That had to condition you for your own business.
Yes. So I eventually got the car in for service and I had to call my wife to come pick me up because they weren't offering any kind of loaner cars or anything. And she went through the exact same thing trying to find me. And she brought me to work. I walk in the door and it's quiet. My office is quiet. I have art on the walls. There's a candle burning on the coffee table. Mike Lane's there. There's jazz playing. And it just made me appreciate my business a lot more. How it feels like a friend. It feels like you're at a friend's house. It doesn't, there's not that madness. It was calming. And what's the one thing a person needs when they walk into a shop and their car's broken and their coolant just spewed out on the highway and the tow truck driver and everything was crazy? What's the one thing that they need the most is somebody to just say, everything's going to be fine. Just give me your keys. I already have your number. We're going to call you. Here's the loaner car. Get out of here.
They want calm and assurance.
Yep, absolutely. And that's so important. And that's what makes our shop different. Different than a lot of other shops, I think, in the area. That's one of about 50 things that makes us different, but that's a big thing.
Hey, were you good in school?
I was a solid B+, C-, C+. I was good in school, but I was the kid who had to study nine days in a row to pull a B on the exam. I had to really, really work. I was not very, very good in school. I had to bust my butt if I was going to even get a B.
Are you a deep thinker, a visionary for the business?
Yes and no. I live in a little fantasy land. Mike, my advisor, who's also a good friend, he lives in the real world, he always says. And I live in this kind of fantasy world. And my ideas, out of 100, maybe one of them is really like a solid idea that's going to work. The best ideas that we have in our business come from the team, the technicians, the advisors. That's where the real ideas seem to come from. And those ideas work like 85% of the time. Mine work like 1% of the time. So I've started just using their ideas. And when they have an idea, the whole plan to shift our identity from the old car shop to the new car shop was their idea. And it was spot on. It was exactly what we needed. And we're just rocking and rolling now. I trust them. I like their ideas better than mine most of the time. So
think back. Any unexpected thing you learned along the way that you cherish?
We do these art shows in our shop. It's an idea I got
from Bogie Latiner. Yes.
She's just amazing. And I took her class at an expo, and she's just incredible. She is a leader in our industry in so many ways, but she shared this idea to do this art thing with me. Basically, what we do is every 3 months, we host an art gallery opening in our office. We have this beautiful office. We bring an artist in, an artist that hasn't hit the big time, still has a day job. We let them do an art show in our office, and we bring in gallery lighting. We bring in a food truck, and we invite our cardboard cutout people to come to the art show. And we have music, and it's just amazing. It's so fun. It's a party. I have never appreciated art. If you go to my house, there's like no art on the walls. I just don't think to put art up. I go to an art museum, I'm bored. I'm just like, this is dumb. Let's go home. But the artists, as I've started working with them and talking with them, they have changed my views on art. Like the artists will come in, and sometimes it's weird stuff. Sometimes it's like art that I just don't even get it. It's this one woman does found object art. She finds like old weird stuff at fairs and craft shows, and she sticks it all on this picture frame and arranges it just right. And I just don't quite get it. And what I've come to realize is an artist is somebody who takes their insides and puts it on the outside. And it can be risky. It can be dangerous. There's a lot of risk that people won't understand what you're trying to portray or what you're trying to do. And just somebody taking that risk, that earns my respect for them. That's so cool. And sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But what I came to learn, this lady that does the found object art sold all the art's for sale. Off my wall, sold almost $1,000 worth of art in that night of that party. Because people walked in and they saw this art, and they realized these little objects were like an old hair product tin from the 50s. Some guy walked up to it and said, "That's what my grandpa used to use." Oh my God, look at this. This is the same little egg blender thing that my grandma used to use, and just picked up off the wall and bought it. They connected with this stuff, and I just didn't see it coming. I just thought it was weird junk on the wall, but it was more. It was more than that. And it kind of opened my eyes to some things,
So, Patrick, what kind of people come to the art show?
So my goal is to get 50 or 60 people that have never been to my shop before, that have no idea what I'm about.
Ah, customer recruitment.
I don't want my customers there. They already love me. Like, I want people who have never heard of me before, because, what better way to establish a relationship but than by showing the outreach that we do in our shop, and really showing them just the shiniest part of our operation, which is our outreach, that kind of stuff. What better way to bring these people in? And they share that with their friends too. It splits and splits, and they, it grows. So that's who I want to come in. But an unexpected thing happened on our second art show. I didn't see this coming, and it really worked out to my favor. So one of the hardest things that shops struggle with is finding good qualified technicians, master techs, things like that. And a lot of it, I think, stems back to the reason we do our outreach is because kids aren't doing it these days. The industry hasn't been welcoming to women. You only see 1.6% women technicians out there. Solve some of those problems and we'll solve a bigger problem. But anyways, word got out. I always try to invite the people I'm trying to bring in for whatever I need at that moment. At that moment for that art show, we were trying to hire. We needed another technician bad. So I invited parts drivers, parts people, service advisors that I knew at other dealerships, technicians that I knew that didn't work for me yet. I invited like a bunch of people in the industry to come. I invited the tool truck guy, and his family came out. The word got out. One technician at the BMW dealership invited another one, and he invited another one. And I had 5 or 6 master technicians come to my art show. And they didn't care about the art. They walked right through and went right into the back. And they saw my beautiful floor and my high-intensity lights and all the new equipment we had. And I got to stand around in a little corral with 5 or 6 of these guys and just spill my guts about how we do things in our shop, tell them about everything. Somebody overheard one of them say, I want that bay. I'm going to move into this bay right here. And he's working for me right now. He quit his job 2 weeks later. I interviewed him, and he showed up not just because of my art show, but that definitely pushed him over the edge, and he reached out to me, and we talked, and he's an amazing technician.
Another value for open house and community outreach. Great strategy, invite industry people.
I didn't see it coming. It just hit me in the face. It was just great.
I got a tour before we started our interview from Patrick. He took his laptop with his headset and he showed me the art wall and the shop and the beautiful floor and this great business. And I looked at the found art, and you were absolutely right. It was creative and clever and beautiful display wall. Just a gorgeous place. So that prompts me to think about community outreach. Are you doing, besides inviting, your avatar into the place to showcase these artists, what else are you doing?
I've got a 2-year-old daughter at home. Her name's Ainsley, and she's a little car nut. She loves cars. I've got a BMW M3 that I drive every day to drop her off at daycare, and she's in the back seat at every stoplight yelling, "Go, Daddy, go!" like trying to get me to zoom with the car, because she's just a nut for it. She loves it. And we were driving to Chicago to visit my parents, and we were in like Ohio, and she was throwing a fit in the back seat of the car. She was tired. She'd been in the car too long. She was having a meltdown. And we stopped at a fast food joint, got her out of the car just to go walk around. And this old truck pulled in. It was like a 90s or 80s F-150. It was red, and it had white sides. And this older gentleman got out, and the truck was beautiful. He had it lifted a little bit, but it was very tasteful, and it was just a handsome truck. My daughter, it was like a magnet, like a homing beacon. She just went right up to this truck because she knew it was something that was cool. And the guy got out, and he saw that she liked it, and he let her. She wanted to touch the truck, and he let her touch it. Let her touch the tires. She touched the side. She was pointing at the mirrors, and I was standing there watching it, and a light bulb kind of went off in my head. Like I got struck by a lightning bolt. She might want to grow up to be a technician someday. That little girl of mine might just be a technician, want to be a tech. Maybe not. Maybe she'll want to be an accountant.
But you're okay with that, right?
No. From what I have heard from Bogey and other women in the industry, our industry has not been welcoming to women, and to children, to new people at all. One of the biggest problems that we hear, if you survey shop owners, is finding qualified technicians that will work in the shop. It's a big problem. High schools aren't really teaching shop classes the way they used to. It's kind of a fading thing. Dads aren't doing what my dad did for me quite as much anymore. Just because people don't have as much time, cars are getting so complicated that you need $100,000 worth of equipment just to change the oil in the darn thing. People aren't tinkering with cars quite as much anymore. And what my dad did for me, not every kid has anymore. There are lots of kids out there that would probably love to work with their hands and love to be technicians, but just don't quite have that outlet to plug it into like I had as a kid. So we do classes in our shop. We do all kinds of them. We do STEM classes. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And those are open to anybody. A customer can contact me and say, hey, I've got a group of kids from this club, and I want them to come to your class. And I'll put together a class for them, 3 hours on a Saturday. Kids will come in, and we will learn about jump starting a car. We'll learn about changing the oil, checking the fluids. What do the warning lights mean? Changing a tire, all that stuff. What we really focus on, though, towards the end, once I've got these kids in front of me and got them excited, is that, listen, there are careers in this industry for you. If you liked what you did today, there's a path you can follow where you can go to school without going to college if you don't want to, and you can become a master BMW technician. You can make 6 digits if you're good. You don't have to be strong. You don't have to be big. All you need is a head on your shoulders. You got to be smart. You got to have good drive. You got to have good work ethic, and you got to want to do it. And if you have those things, you can do it. That's kind of like my big thing at the end of the class. And every time you have like 15 kids there, a couple of them don't really care. Their mom made them be there. And some of them are kind of engaged. They're interested, but it's just not their thing. You always have like 1 or 2 kids who like a light bulb goes off. And that's what I'm after. It's not just touchy-feely stuff I'm trying to do to help the world. Those could be my technicians. If it's a 15-year-old kid, that kid could be working for me in 4 or 5 years. If he goes to UTI and then goes through the BMW STEP program, he could work for me. So this is shorter term than you think.
What are the ages you're bringing them in? Is it high school?
I prefer to have kids that are from 12 years old up to like 16 or so. I'm not as good with the really young kids, so 12 is kind of like where I start them. But if a customer has some kid that's 10 and is really into it, he's coming to my class. I'll get him in there.
And you're getting the kids in because you're working with the schools?
I tend to do it this way. It's a lot of work. Putting together a class like this can be exhausting, can be a lot of work. What I do is I find a customer who hears about it that seems to be really passionate about it, and I kind of make them my point person. So I got this lady who she loves our shop. She's been coming to us for years, and she heard about the classes, and she said, "Oh, my son is in a engineering society. Would you do a class?" And I say, "Absolutely. Find me 15 kids. Let's pick a date. You handle all the scheduling and who's coming, who's not, the sign up sheets. You handle all that. Bring me the kids, and I'll do what I do best, which is teaching the class."
So you've delegated through your customer base who has a passion for wanting to expose these kids to this level of information.
It takes about half the hard work off my shoulders, because that's the hardest part, is wrangling these kids all together and getting them all ready, to come to the event. So
kudos to you, man, Patrick. This is a first for me, hearing you working with, usually you hear the open houses and it's women clinics.
Yeah, well, we do that too. We do women's car care clinics. Those are so fun. The thing I like about that is if you do a general car care clinic, you get the guys and the girls. The men kind of push the women to the back, and they, come up, and the women aren't comfortable. I have heard some of the most amazing, thoughtful questions come from the women when we do these clinics. It's just amazing, and it's so fun, and I love doing it. great way to connect with our customers.
I love where this interview is going and has gone. The process is. You said special entrepreneurial hack, and you wrote down barcode. What did you mean by that?
I'm a barcode nerd. I love it. So in my shop, we have barcode scanners, just like at the grocery store, just like at a store where it's like a little gun. It goes beep, set up throughout the shop. We have them in the front. We have them in the back, especially near the parts, the bolts, the nuts and bolts bins. There was a day when I used to resent the Worth man coming over, because we buy these Worth bolts and nuts and bolts and washers, these little drain plug washers for oil changes. And Worth is expensive stuff. It is not cheap. It's really high quality, just like our shops, high quality. It's worth it, but it's expensive. And that guy would come through and restock me, and it would cost me $500. And I was always cursing it. So I found a way to turn that bolt bin into a profit center by bringing a barcode scanner in. We have a computer with shop management system on it at the bolt bin. And each bolt bin has a barcode that I've assigned to it. And I've assigned that barcode to a part in our system. So when the technician realizes he needs a drain plug ring, he opens up the bin, he selects the ticket he wants it on, he grabs the scanner and goes beep, and beeps it out. If he needs 4, he goes beep, 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 and then grabs them and he's off.
Doesn't the ticket, though, have any kind of shop supplies, overall percentage of shop supplies?
Yes, and that covers things like, rags and top-off fluids and things like that.
Okay, so anything coming off the Worth bin is really a part number, and it's being invoiced and billed. And are you barcoding every item in the cabinet, or just the cabinet overall?
I have strict little stickers on what needs to be scanned and what is just grab and go. Like zip ties, I just let those go because it's not worth messing around. But all my oil filters are barcoded. So if you're in the middle of an oil pan job and you realize you need an oil filter, how many oil filters were walking out the door before that? Now I've made it so easy for the techs to do it that they might as well just do it. It's just as easy as doing it. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to go tell the advisor, hey, I need one more oil filter on this. No, you just boop. And now every time I hear that little boop, I hear a little bit of profit, like it's a beautiful thing. And the customers don't mind. It's not a lot. I mean, we're talking an extra 50 cents on your ticket for a little bolt. It's customers don't mind it. It's okay. And they know they're getting the best bolts, the best stuff. I don't feel like I have to cheap out. So it's great.
Very smart. Drop cards.
So one of the big things that Cecil and Bogey both preach is that any marketing you do, you can't just call Kukui and say, here's my cardboard cutout, go, and expect cars to just fly in your door. I mean, some will. When you're really succeeding marketing-wise, you need to be doing about 15 different things all the time. You can't just do mail marketing. You can't just do, radio ads. You got to do all of it. You got to do everything. You got to be targeting your people all the time. The mind doesn't really register an advertisement until it's seen it something like 15 times or something crazy like that. So ideally, a customer, when they hear about our shop or when they want to come in, they've seen us in like 10 different places. They've seen our logo. They've seen my Red Cross, Bimmer Rescue thing everywhere. So one way that we do that is through drop cards. I learned this from Ron and Chusti from Coast Motorworks in California. He's an amazing guy. I basically hired a guy to be my drop card specialist, and he drives around all the time putting cards on cars. We have these little cards that we made up that say, if you've already got a mechanic that you trust, we understand, but if you're looking for a new shop, try us out. Here's the things here's the reason why you should try us out, the loaner cars, blah, blah, blah. This little postcard thing, smaller than a postcard, and we put it on the passenger or the driver's side window right above the door handle, just kind of tuck it in there. It is got one of our best ROI of any marketing that we do. It's better than mail marketing. It's one of the best.
And you're only putting it on the cars you work on. So BMWs, Minis.
Here's the beautiful thing about it is you get to pick whose car you're going to put it on. When I come across an old turd, nope, we don't put a card on that one. I give my drop car guy very specific years and makes and models that we're after. We struggle to make money on these certain BMWs, these older 7 Series. They're just maintenance hogs, and we struggle with them. So we don't put drop cards on them. We don't want them coming in. We put them on the cars that we really do well with.
There's target marketing.
Targeted, it's the best. And if the car if it looks like it's been wrecked 3 times and hasn't been cleaned in 5 years, we're not going to put a card on it. We want cars that people are proud of and people like. It's very targeted. It's very good. I love it.
Are you ever going to duplicate this model? Maybe another branch someday?
I would love to. Mike asked me this, my advisor, the other day. He said, what are we going to do next, man? What are we going to do? We're going to open up another shop? Yes, I think I might like to open up a shop that works on all cars. A shop that I can share this stuff with more people in. You know, we're good with BMWs. We know the model. We know what we're doing. We're getting there. I want to share this industry stuff, this art show stuff, these classes. I want to share them with everybody. I want to be able to work on somebody's Lexus or somebody's, that might be what we do next. Who knows? We'll see.
An Asian specialty shop.
Yeah, who knows?
I've had so much fun. I think we can go on for 2 hours just getting some of the wisdom out of you. Thank you so much for being here. Any final last words of wisdom that you think about all the time?
Just keep with it. Just keep with it. Try to stay passionate about what you're doing. That's what has kept me going, and customers see it, employees see it. I think it's so important. So important.
Patrick McHugh, Bimmer Rescue, Richmond, VA, Virginia. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks, Carm. It was really cool. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Patrick McHugh, for sharing your strategies and a few cool practices that make your business unique and run so well. Continued success. See the episode talking points at Patrick's own show notes page. Go to remarkableresults.biz/E266. Hey, don't forget about the Single Subject Town Hall Academy episodes. Great lessons provided by your own industry colleagues. We do the webcast live each Friday at 12 noon Eastern on Facebook, and then we repurpose the audio each week as a podcast. Find the lesson on your favorite listening app. You can watch the Academy live. Find the link at remarkableresults.biz/live. Thanks for your support. So glad you're a loyal fan of the powerful content of the Automotive Aftermarket's premier podcast.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier Automotive Aftermarket podcast. Until next time,